We're going to go now to Clute, Texas, to hear from another Republican contender, Congressman Ron Paul. Mr. Paul, welcome to Face the Nation. Let me talk to you first a little bit about what the Vice President said about Afghanistan, because basically what he said is we're going to stay the course there. Now, I know a lot of people in your party don't particularly agree with you on foreign policy, but has Afghanistan been worth our time and treasure?
No, absolutely not. We went in there improperly. It was a waste. There's not going to be a happy ending. And I think the Republicans have dug a hole for themselves because they're trying to militarize the president and say we should do more. And yet 75% of the American people said we've had enough. It's cost us too much money. It's time to come home. But this was Obama's cherished position. He says this is the good war. And now we've been there 10 years. It's a sad state of affairs. And I think it's when you see innocent people dying, when you see all the collateral damage, you see 16 people getting murdered, that's a tragedy. But with thousands of innocent people are dying, they just call them collateral damage because we endlessly drop these bombs around and all the people who died in Iraq. No, it's time to change the policy. And this is my argument, is the American people want to change. They're tired of it. It's costing us too much money. But we're not offering anything differently. And so if this is to be an issue, the other Republican candidates offer nothing more than a continuation of the status quo or actually increasing the militarism that we have around the world. So I think that's a losing position.
What are your plans now? I mean, it seems clear to me, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but it seems clear to me that there's no way you're going to get the nomination now. Do you intend to continue hanging around?
Obviously, yes. You know, the conventional wisdom is there's no guarantee. It knows. You were talking earlier on about Romney being the candidate, but that's the conventional wisdom, and I would admit that. But no, the votes haven't been counted. There's quite a few states right now. There are 6 or 7 states that we're doing quite well through the delegate process. So we don't even know who's getting what so far, and who knows what will happen on the first vote at the convention. So I would say that it's very encouraging because I am talking to a whole generation which is expanding, you know, as far as age goes. But when I can get 5,200 people out on a college campus is wildly enthusiastic to hear the message of liberty and freedom and less wars and curtailing the Federal Reserve, there's no way I'm going to quit speaking out on this. And there's no way I'm going to give up on the effort to get the Republican back to their roots. You know, in some ways they say, well, why don't you give up and this will help the Republican Party. The truth is, I'm trying to save the Republican Party from themselves because they want perpetual wars. They don't care about presidents who assassinate American citizens. They don't care about searching our houses without search warrants. And these are the kind of things that people care about. And if the Republicans would take a different position, they may save themselves. But right now, I see they're going to be in big trouble. What about the deficit? Sure, the Democrats spend too much money, but the Republicans said, well, our proposal is to balance the budget in 30 years. I mean, people are laughing at that. So I say cut the budget by $1 trillion. This idea that you have a debt crisis, the worst in the history of the world, and we won't cut spending, we have a problem.
You know, I must say, hearing you this morning, you sound like somebody that might not support even the Republican candidate come the fall. Is there any way or any chance, or are you thinking about maybe heading up a third-party effort after the Republican convention?
No, I don't have any plans for that. I didn't hear Gingrich mention that he was thinking about it either. But no, I have no plans to do that. I'm trying to win the nomination. The votes haven't been counted. I think the views I hold are very, very popular. I think we represent the future. The other candidates represent the past. The president represents the past. We represent the future about what freedom really brings us, free markets and sound money and civil liberties and a sensible foreign policy. And this idea, they're living with their head in the sand to think that there's not a debt crisis. There is a debt crisis, and you have to cut spending. This idea that you need to spend more money and print more money when you get into trouble, I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. And I think common sense tells us that you just can't keep spending. This is why you talked a little bit about this discord between Republicans and Democrats. It's because they refuse to admit there's nothing left in the Treasury, and they're fighting. Before, we were very rich. The middle class was rich, and the revenues came in. but there's nothing there, and this is why this conflict is going to get much worse until we admit the truth.
Let me ask you this quickly. I think I heard somebody say you have publicly said that you'd like to be on the ticket with Mitt Romney if he gets it. Would you?
I haven't said anything like that, and I don't see how that would happen. There's too many disagreements. I like Mitt Romney as a person. I think he's a dignified person, and I have no common ground on economics. I mean, he isn't worried about the Federal Reserve, and he isn't worried about the foreign policy. He doesn't talk about civil liberties. So I'd have a hard time to expect him ever to invite me to campaign with him.
Would you vote for him, or would you support him?
No, I haven't made that decision yet. I'm still campaigning.
You haven't made the decision on whether you would support Mitt Romney if he gets the nomination?
No, I have not.
All right. Well, Mr. Paul, thank you very much for being with us this morning.